that's a great spot to manage risk against, again, versus that low of the day. And that happens a lot with oops reversals, which you probably heard me talk about before. So again, this is probably my favorite way to trade ranges. The last way is just the standard range breakout. As it approaches and breaks through the high of the last day or the inside day, you enter. And, maybe this is your final ad if you've accumulated a little bit on the prior three ways to trade ranges, but this is the more standard way to, trade through the highs, the daily highs, and enter and manage risk at the most recent swing low on a lower time frame, or on the low of the day as you enter. So this is the traditional range breakout. So any of those four ways work well. And when I put on a trade, I might use a combination of a lot of these. I like using this one when not only do we have the low of the range here, but we have maybe the 10 EMA rising here or the 21 EMA rising here. You've got that confluence. And I might look to, build half of my position, maybe a 10% position on this, and then add on a breakout here, another 10% to make it a full position. So that's how I might use a combination of these to build into position. All right, handling failed tight areas. This is important because they're going to fail. It's just a matter of a rule. That's what the market. What happens in the market sometimes. Here we've got an example of coin. You've got a tight range here. You've got RV down to 0 that tells you to draw a pivot across. It doesn't really break out here until this day and pushes strong for 2 days and then reverses and stops you out. But when you've got a failed tight area, you really want to stay focused on that stock and see if it sets up again. And sure enough, it does. We've got RMV goes down to 0. We've got a tight area that forms here. And this is a good example of where I draw a pivot, because you've got a wick here, you've got a wick here, and you've got an upside reversal type bar here. That's why I've got the pivot, through this high pretty much, and you re-enter and dance off to the races. So don't give up and don't ignore a stock just because it's had one failed tight area. Keep it on your radar, and if it sets up again another one, that might even work stronger because it shook out a lot of the weak holders. So that's a key thing to remember here. All right, here's an example of Peloton. Again, you've got a tight area that forms off the right-hand side of the base. It fails. You set your stop here, and you're stopped out, and it never really resets. And this actually was pretty much the top of Peloton before it dropped out. I actually traded this tight area and reversed, stopped out on this day for a small loss. And thank God I did, because obviously it had a huge drawdown. So that's why it's so important to use stops. And again, my stop is typically, if I'm, see it this day, this would be my pivot. My stop as it pushes through is almost always at the low of the day. And I might move it up a little bit if I'm in profit even, and I'm stopped out on this day or on the fall through to the downside. And again, it's just a small paper cut, very, very small relative to the potential gain that could arise if I catch a trend and start the position as it begins a new trend, new part of the move. Here's Duolingo.